Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Brigitte Jolliet, who is a personal injury attorney. Brigitte, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, a pleasure is all ours. Thank you again for just taking the opportunity to be present with us on our platform and to sharing your story. I know there's a lot of ups and downs, and there's a lot of things that you're potentially going to be sharing with us this show. So before we actually dive into a lot of the things and how you became a personal injury attorney, give us a little background, a little bit on yourself, your cultural background, and where you grew up.
Sure. My mother is from Haiti and my father was from Switzerland, and I grew up in both North Miami and Broward in Florida.
North Miami and
Broward County, Florida.
oh, okay, okay,
Think
okay.
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay, okay. For the
Yeah,
people who don't know, right there.
right.
So,
Yes. So I was born in Miami and I grew up in both Miami, the North Miami area, and Broward near Fort Lauderdale.
and you say your mother's Haitian?
Yes, my mom's Haitian.
Okay. And what part of Haiti?
Okay.
Okay. And your father, you said Switzerland.
Yes, Geneva.
Oh, Geneva. Okay.
Yes.
The blend over here is serious. I mean, that might have to be a question right there. How they even connected? Because Haiti and Switzerland.
Well, Haitian in Switzerland, I think my mom, I believe she met him through a friend. So
Okay.
Miami, in Miami, she met him. So Miami's a melting pot, and you have people from Europe and from the Caribbean and South America. So it happens a lot that you see people with very interesting ethnic backgrounds. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, you are
very
right.
diverse.
Miami is definitely like a melting pot.
Hmm.
It's just like New York. In certain places, like
Yes.
New York, you pull up and it's like, what? How'd you even get here?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But when you said that, I was like, hold up, that just threw me off
Very
for a quick
random
second.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, so someone must study abroad or something? Yeah, talk to us. What was like your childhood growing up? Like how would you describe it? I mean, it's obviously your father's from Switzerland, your mom is from Haiti, but you're growing up in Miami, a melting pot. Like,
Mhm.
talk to us about that.
Sure. So, if I could describe my childhood, it would be dynamic, definitely. My father passed away when I was very young, before I was two. Thank you. Yes. So I grew up on knowing my Haitian side of the family more than my Swiss side. I grew up with my mother. So I would describe it as dynamic because while I experienced a lot of change and instability in my childhood, my family bond and my cultural upbringing was very strong. Although I struggled with my relationship with my mother growing up, she was still a major role model in my life because of how ambitious she was. She has a law degree and a nursing degree and a culinary degree. Yes,
Come on,
yes,
mom. Come on.
yes.
Come on, clap it up for
So
her.
my mom went to law school when I was much younger. I was about 8 or 9 years old. And one of the things I remember is playing in the law library as a kid because, my mother she had my stepdad there, but she was the primary caretaker and the breadwinner in my family. And she didn't always have people to watch us. My stepdad was often very sick. So when she didn't have anyone to watch me and my sister, she would take us to her night classes, her law school night classes at University of Miami when they had a part-time night program. So she would take us with her after school. She'd pick us up. She'd take us to her classes, and we'd play in the library while she was in class. And that's something that definitely, obviously, had an impact on me, even if I didn't realize that my future was going to be the law. I was playing in law libraries as a kid, and at the same time, my mom's ambitions create a lot of stress for her that, naturally she projected onto her family, but still, especially during law school, but still, I mean, she did this for us. She wanted to accomplish these things to provide security for her family. Even
Mhm.
though it created instability for us, it's still something that she did for us, and she did it strong. So I would describe my childhood as dynamic when it comes to that.
And you also, in just a while ago, you mentioned we. Talk to us about the we. You said we were in the library.
My sister and I.
Okay, I was like, I didn't know how many siblings you have. You could have been like
Yes,
eight
so
siblings running through the library.
just me and one of my sisters. My oldest sister, she was already in high school, so she would take care of herself. But
Okay,
when,
okay.
there was nobody to watch us, me and my other sister, she would take us.
So it's three of y'all?
I have two older sisters and a half brother.
Okay, okay. Now you mentioned that you're sorry to hear again that your father had passed away at an early age. Did you ever feel, you said that you grew up more on the Haitian side, obviously because your
Mhm.
mother, but were you able to connect with your that side, the other side, like your father's side?
So I was able to later connect with my half brother. My half brother is from my father's side from his first marriage. And so I was able to connect with him, and I still do stay in touch with him. He's much older, and he's retired, and he lives, where does he lives in Pakistan now, actually. His wife, yeah, works out there. So I connect with him in that way, but I didn't honestly, don't have a strong cultural background or upbringing other than that relationship I have with my half brother now as an adult.
Mm,
I didn't experience, never been to Switzerland, and I didn't have that, you know, that privilege to see that side. So I really just know it's my Haitian side.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you Haitian to the bone.
Yes.
Do
Yes.
you speak Creole as well?
I used to speak Creole. My grandmother didn't speak English, so as a kid, I spoke Creole to speak to her, but I unfortunately lost it. Unfortunately, she passed away when I was 13, and so after that, yes, after that, thank you. There was everybody just really spoke English, which
Mm,
is something that a lot of us experience, especially Black immigrants when we come from cultures that have, other primary languages. We come to America and they're expected to learn English, and they teach that to us because it's the way, they want us to conform with society so that we don't have go through, they think in a protective way, that we don't go through hardships, and we learn English and we make it our primary language. So after my grandmother passed away, that's kind of where it was. Everybody spoke to us in English.
mm. And I know we some of the previous guests that have been on the show, they talked about like being disconnected from their native language, right? And
Right.
whether it was Creole or some other form of language, and when they and exactly what you said, they were like, it's a way of saying we want people to feel welcome,
Right.
but then you forget your roots. You forget where you come
Yes.
from. In some cases, not all the cases, because sometimes obviously when you come here, you're not there's not the same type of if you're not speaking the same language, you're probably not shopping at the same stores, going to the same places as growing up as a child, growing up in Haiti or wherever people are coming from.
Hmm.
So it is very hard. And as you climb up that ladder, you start to realize there's less and less of you as you go
Yes.
along, right? So having your grandmother there to kind of help speak that Creole with you. Um, have you ever gone back to Haiti?
I've gone to Haiti once,
Okay.
but I have not. I went to Haiti when I was younger, when I was around 10 years old. I spent the summer there, but unfortunately, we were supposed to go back every summer, but it just started to get dangerous and
Yes.
things, how it goes. So I hadn't had a chance to go back again, but I'm so grateful that my mother sent us there and wanted us to go there because we needed to see it. We needed to see our country, our home country, and I'm grateful for that opportunity because Haiti is beautiful,
Yeah, it
beautiful.
is. It is. And that is why you are here, Shanti born.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm Caribbean background myself. My mother's Jamaican and my father's St. Lucian.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So the island breed. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
Big up, big up. Yeah, so
yes.
like, what are qualities or characteristics that you feel that your culture provides to you to help you out in your everyday?
Our resilience.
Oh, come on! Every thought leader has come on, and from the Haitian culture has said
Yes,
that word. That
yes,
word is like embedded in
yep,
every single
yes,
person that comes on. They're like,
yes, it is.
shout out to that. I mean, and the thing is that, and if you have never connected, never met, but everyone's saying the same word.
Hmm.
So that's how I know it's real, and our listeners know
Yes.
it's real. So talk to us a
Yes.
little bit about it.
Well, I mean, for example, I would say, well, if you know the history of Haiti, then you know that we are a resilient group of people. You cannot stop us. You cannot stop us. Nothing, no tragedy, no adversity is going to stop us. That is something that is instilled in us. Our story, we are told the story of Haiti and the revolution growing up, and so it's something that is just it's a part of your DNA to be resilient and to be strong. An example is, I have an elder in my family that would tell me, you have 24 hours to cry about it, and then you got to get up and find the solutions. You have one day to cry about whatever it is that happened to you that was so bad, but tomorrow you get up and you find a way to get out of it, and you find your solutions. And so that's the kind of tough, resilient love that I experienced growing up. That is Haitian culture, and we come to this country, and the first thing we're doing is they're instilling education in us, because education is very important, because education is power. It's
Yeah.
empowering, and so that's a way that you can make sure that the system doesn't. One of the ways you can make sure the system doesn't stack itself against you is educating yourself, whether it's formally or through reading. It definitely grades. Everybody who's Haitian who's listening to this knows your grades are everything in school. It's important. If you want to
Yeah,
live,
saying the same
you better
thing. Y'all
get good
saying the
grades.
same thing. That's
Education is
crazy.
very, but it's a part of the resilience. It's a part of the being able to empower yourself and stay strong through things, is doing that. So,
Mm.
um,
And
that's
resilience is obviously a common denominator for everyone that has come on as a thought leader and spoke, being from a Haitian background. And I know that obviously resilience was a very big thing for you, because in your journey, you have gone through the foster care system,
mhm. Yes.
which could goes in so many different directions: pull left, pull right, up, downs. Could you just express a little bit more about that journey in your life and how it shaped you to pursue a career in law?
Sure. So, I was 15 years old when I entered into the foster care system. And I mean, the experience was very shocking, that nobody told me that this was something that was going to happen. They just came to my school, and the caseworkers came to my school to pick me up and took me to a group home, and told me I wasn't going to be going back home uh, to my mother's house. And they were very cold. They never acknowledged me during the car ride there. And then next thing you know, I'm at a group home in Sistrunk in Fort Lauderdale, which is at the time was a very dangerous neighborhood. And I was placed in a group home with 20 other kids, teenagers, which was, very difficult experience to be in, just getting pulled out of school. It was a lot of, how do I say, there was no transparency. It was wherever they wanted to place me is where I was going to go. I actually want to step back and say, first I was in a safe place where they housed toddlers. Then they put me in a group home with 20 other teenagers. So I'm in a safe place for the first night, and then next day I find out I'm going to a group home, and then I get there, and at that time, and I think it's definitely part of my Haitian resilience, is I had to learn to get accustomed really quick to this group home that I was going to be living in. And nobody told me how long I was going to live there. I thought I was going to live there permanently. Nobody said it was a temporary housing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was 3 months into living there that they then came again to tell me that I had to go, and that they had to find another housing for me, because this was actually only a temporary holding place for me. So nobody told me that. I didn't know that there were any court hearings happening. I had no clue what was going on. So again, after that, they they tell me, we're going to place you with a relative, and it was going to be my 25-year-old sister. And
The one that was in high school at the time.
well, she was no,
Well,
my
she
sister was
graduated.
20.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
older now.
she's 10 years older than me. So my oldest sister is 10 years
Yes.
old. So it was her. My other sister was 18 at the time, so she wasn't placed in foster care, but I was 15. So they told me they were going to place me with my 25-year-old sister, which can you imagine, getting the responsibility of a 15-year-old when you're only 25? That's tough. And there was already a lot of tension with my family because of things that had happened that led me to the foster care system. And it'll go to one of the questions that you asked, I think you were going to ask later on, is, some misconceptions about youth in foster care. And a lot of it is that we're troubled kids, we're bad, and that we put this on ourselves. And it is a misconception. But I don't blame my family for at the time feeling like all this drama was, my fault, because I was a troubled kid. I had a lot that I had experienced. I had death that I had experienced. I was bullied in school. And so I would fight a lot and get in a lot of trouble. So there was this idea that, like, hey, you put this on this. You created this too. Like, you were a part of it. So there was there wasn't a good relationship with my sister at the time, and it wasn't a good idea for me to go with her. She was very young again, and she was in college and working, and that's hard to try to take on a teenager. That was where I was already very just angry, depressed, distraught. It's hard to take somebody on like that if you don't have even a professional background in how to deal with teenagers in that way. So they told me they were going to place me with her. I asked them not to. I asked them to put me in a foster home, preferably one, with people that have that background, that know how to deal with teenagers. They said they would think about it and get back to me. And well, when they came to pick me up, it was like, no, you have no choice. You have to go with your sister. So there was, again, no transparency. I didn't even know that I could have gone to the court hearing and spoke up and said that I would think that a foster home would be a better place for me. I didn't have an attorney that would have told me that that was my right, that would have fought for that to be my right, fought for that to be an option for me. So I go with my sister, and of course there's tension in the family. And so I didn't stay there long. But because I had other relatives, they wanted to put me with more relatives. Even though, again, relative placement wasn't a good idea for me at the time. So I went to live with a cousin who was also very young and had his own kids, and, was trying to live his life, but he was wanted to try to help and try to take me in. And I will tell you that so after I went to my sister's house, I also had to switch to a high school near my sister's house. But then that didn't work out. So I had to go to my cousin's house and switch to another high school in Miami. So I was now on my third high school, another housing placement. And I was pretty much a lost teenager. I felt very lost. I was very scared. The school that I was going to was very different than the schools that I was going to in Broward. It was very severely underfunded. There was a lot of, gang fighting, lots of violence going on there. It was a tough experience. And then I was also getting into a lot of fights in school. So that was difficult. So it was difficult for my cousin to also keep up with me. So then I went to another housing placement with another relative.
Wow.
And by now, yeah. So by then I was 17. And I'm on my third high school, my third relative housing placement. And I felt like I was never going to get a chance to go to college because my grades were poor. I was skipping school a lot, and getting into things that I shouldn't have been getting into. But I was understandably just a lost, angry, scared teenager. So after that housing placement and thinking that I was never going to get a chance to go to college, I ended up running away, and I ended up getting into a life that I did not expect I would be living in. And it was very tough. I was doing things, and it was very dark times for me, from about 17 to 20 for 3 years. And I didn't know that I had actually resources that would have been available to me, including a free college education in Florida until I was 28, and health insurance benefits, those things that I actually were available to me that I didn't know. And I wouldn't have ran away if I knew that those opportunities were available to me, but I did.
Mm.
Um, and after about 3 years in the situation that I was in, um, I left that. I mended my relationship with my family and I got my GED and I eventually started college. And, so I was during that time, during those 3 years, I was in life dancing. This is what I knew. I was trying to survive. And again, I didn't think that I had resources out there for me that were actually available to me. So, I was in a dark place and I was started college, and college really helped me. College was a place where I was treated like a normal person.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wasn't treated like a bad person. It was a complete fresh start for me. So I dove into my education, and you know I got good grades. And when I was in college, I started working on a research project to come up with ways to improve the foster care system. And that my experience from wanting to go to law school was gradual. By the time I was doing this research project, it was already very much on my mind that I wanted to go to law school, and that's because in those 3 years that I was, living my life and living the life and dancing, I got into trouble with the law and I got arrested. I got arrested twice. So I had a criminal defense attorney that actually offered me an internship. My criminal defense attorney offered me an internship because he told me, I think that you would be a good lawyer. And so the second time I got arrested, I was already in college. So I'm starting my life over, but then something from my
No.
past crept up on me, and I had got arrested for something that I did in the past, but it came back to haunt me. And my criminal defense attorney was like, "You get good grades, you're doing good. I think that the law is something that you would really enjoy." So he gave me an internship. So that's how it really kind of started to get the seeds planting in my head about becoming a lawyer. I was in college studying journalism, actually, and I loved investigating, getting people's stories, learning about people's backgrounds and writing about that and sharing that in a way that people can understand, that the audience can want to understand people's adversities. So I would focus on stories like that. And the person who ran the journalism program also told me, you should go to law school because the things you like about investigating and researching are the things that make someone a really good lawyer. So um, I, but the final moment when I knew for sure was when I was working on that research project on ways to improve the foster care system. And I came across a report, and it was specifically for the foster care system in Florida. And I came across a report that was published that described all the laws and regulations that are in place to determine what benefits youth are entitled to, including free college, um, health care, a stipend for your rent, so that you can afford to pay rent and not have to do things to just survive. Um, a way for you to age out of the system gracefully and start your life over because you came so far behind from others that have solid homes and you
Yeah.
didn't. And so youth are actually in youth in Florida that are in the foster care system are fully entitled to these benefits, but if they're not, and they're also supposed to be told about them by the time they're 17 years old. So that never happened for me. I actually didn't, my Miami-Dade case manager, I never even met her in person. So, which was also something she was required to do, was to meet with me and they were supposed to have a full meeting with me and tell me about all of these things I was entitled to and help me age out of the system and get independent. It was called the Independent Living Program. So when I saw that these laws required us to learn about this and be able to age out of the system gracefully, but that didn't happen to me, I knew that was a huge injustice.
Mm.
And
Okay.
I needed to definitely go to law school and work to advocate for others.
That first that 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 was just a lot to digest, and I'm happy that you're sharing that process because I think sometimes when people talk about foster care, they're like, "Oh, I was in foster care, but then I found myself a home and I was good." You just went through the breakdown of like the in, the out, the in and out, and that could honestly affect a young child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going through that process, and now, mind you, you're probably even the fact that you were going to family members' houses where people were looking at, "Oh, that's amazing, you're with your family," but if your family's not good, a good
Right,
fit for you, then it's not good, right?
right,
And knowing that you didn't have the opportunity or the privilege to know the various different laws, knowing that you can go in there and represent yourself and say what you need to say, um, it's things like
right,
that where the system really do doesn't do its service to those students, to those kids.
right.
And as you get older, you're like, wait, I could have done it. It could have been better. But you are 100% correct in regards to the resilience right there. That whole story right there that you just shared showed every cent, every dollar, every corner, every nick and cranny of resilience because you were like, well, on top of that, I still got my GED. On top of that, I still went to college. On top of that, I went to and I got in jail, for stuff that happened in the past. And I'm like, you could come out even worse and
Mm-hmm.
be like, well, there's
Absolutely.
no hope for me. And I feel like a lot of, especially as second generation immigrants or even as immigrants in general, we're already having in our mindset sometimes like we're not enough. How do you
Yes,
keep up with the Joneses here in America?
yes,
With all the
yes.
various different regulations, and you got to learn English, and you got to work for this a 9 to 5, and you got to. It's just like and in this
Mm-hmm.
about this is when you see people go left, but you manage to stay the course, and I feel like that is definitely it shows the character within you. It shows the legacy that your mother and father have put inside of you at a young age, and where you are right now to where you've gotten to right now. So again, I say all that to say kudos to you for really, really just taking that negative experience, if that was the case. I know not all of it was all negative, but the negative experiences in there and turn it into something very positive where you could actually get back, right?
Yes,
When people they're like, I made it, I'm good, I'm gone. But you're like, I made it, but I'm gonna go back because I know there's a lot more individuals just like myself.
absolutely.
They don't know the ropes. It's gonna happen to them as well, and you're trying to kind of fix in that and kind of meeting it dead on. So, congratulations on that. I know that you wrote an article as well too about this. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. And the article will tell you more about my background, especially, the experience I had when I was 17 up until I was 20, and how I was very vulnerable to someone who recruited me into that world of dancing. And for very nefarious, sick reasons. I was very vulnerable though, because I didn't know that I actually had a future ahead of me and that I had these opportunities that the law requires, that the law has in place for me as a benefit because of how harsh the foster care system can be. These laws are in place to help people like me, youth like me, who again, through no fault of their own, ended up in a system that is very flawed and traumatizing. So I, again, was traumatized from that experience and vulnerable. And it's important. One of the reasons why it's important to tell the youth early on that they have these entitlements is to prevent them from falling vulnerable to the kind of person that I felt vulnerable to, who ended up getting me into that life,
Mm-hmm.
for their own financial benefit and exploiting me. So it took me 3 years to realize I was being exploited by this person and that there was no future for me. It was just to be working in the clubs and making that person money, and living a life that I never ever wanted to live. That wasn't me. It's not something that I wanted to do, but I thought I had no choice. And this person told me I had no choice. Hey, the system doesn't care about you. The system's
Damn,
not here for you, but I am.
damn.
And so it took me 3 years to wake up and realize that this person doesn't love me. This person was exploiting me. And that in itself was another trauma that I had to work to overcome. And, that was very, very hard. And I still will live with that trauma for the rest of my life. But that doesn't mean that you can't use it to actually your advantage and use it to strengthen you. And what it made me want to fight for my life, made me want to fight to get my life back and fight to make sure that other people that were in similar vulnerable situations like mine do not fall prey to predators like him.
The question I would ask at this point in time, and feel free to share if you can, like what kept you from not jumping off the cliff? Like you already have someone in front of you saying, "Follow my lead," right? I'm going to tell you what to do and how you need to run your life. You've been going in and out of the foster care system. Your family members are not providing a safe haven for you. You're trying to figure out how to get your GED. You don't even know if college is an option. Like you're dancing, and it's like, okay, how could you sit there by yourself at some point in time? What was that turning point where you woke up and said, I want more for myself? It seemed like you always wanted more for yourself, but there had to be a moment in time when you were like, this needs to stop right now.
Well, as it comes to leaving that situation or jumping off a cliff, because I still
Well,
wanted to jump off a cliff after I left.
well, I could only imagine. I could imagine, but I know that there was like a part where you're probably like there was a situation and you were like, I feel like really jumping off this. My life cannot look like this, and something snapped, and you were like, all right, I don't know where I'm going, but it's not in this direction anymore.
I'll tell you, it was after I left and I got my GED and I started college. And I want you to know that it wasn't when I decided that I was going to go to college, it was my family that was first, they were like, I told them, no, college, I don't have the money. I'm not going to go to college. But they were like, just get your GED, just do that. Okay. So I got my GED and I got it very quickly, which was a confidence booster for me. Very good feeling to know that I just had to take that test and I passed it, and college was an opportunity for me. So eventually I did enroll in college, and that's the first time that I learned that my mom was actually not my was not my guardian anymore. I didn't even realize in the foster care system that legally my mother was not my legal mother anymore. I didn't even know that. So when I went to college, I brought her with me to enroll in the registrar because you're
No,
supposed, yeah. Mm-hmm.
no,
Yeah.
oh no, no.
Yeah.
I would have flipped. I would have been.
I brought her with me
Oh,
thinking, I need my mother to enroll because I was, again, only 21 or something. And it was still within the age range where you need your parent to sign off on it. So I go to enroll and they were like, no, you're a ward of the state. Your mother is not your mother anymore, according to the law. You were an independent. So you were a child of the state. Therefore, you have to go to this office at this address and they're going to sign a piece of paper for you to waive your tuition. I didn't understand what that meant. I just went, I was like, okay, well, all right, mom, thanks for coming. I'm going to go to this office now. And I go to this office and this woman comes out and she gives me a signed piece of paper and says, okay, this is good until 2028. Not 2028, I'm sorry, this is good until 2018. And I said, okay. And I'm looking at it and it says tuition waiver. Now, mind you, I'm thinking I'm going to go to college and find a way to pay for it, probably continue dancing because this was all I knew. I didn't know, but it said tuition waiver. So I go back to the school and I said, what does this mean? And they said, you have free college in any Florida state school until you're 28 years old. So that's until 2018, you have free college here. You don't have to pay. You're a ward of the state, and this was something that you were always entitled to. So I just want to say that that's how I started. I started college. I enrolled in a few classes, but I'm 21 and I'm looking at social media. I'm looking at Facebook, and my kids I went to high school with are already graduating college, starting law school or grad school, starting their own businesses. And I'm just here, just getting started. And I was still dancing because that's the only thing I knew how to do. And as much as my family discouraged it, I was still stuck on it because I was brainwashed. It's what I didn't know I never held a job before. I didn't know anything else. And
Did your family members know you were a dancer?
they did. They did.
Okay, because I was you say like when you're saying it, I'm like, oh wait, your mom knew and your sister knew.
Yeah,
Oh
they
wow.
knew. They knew, but they couldn't talk me out of it. They couldn't talk me out of it. I was gonna already do what I thought was the only thing I could do to still survive because my family wasn't going to pay my rent for me. My family wasn't going to do these things for me. And I also didn't know that I could get a stipend for my rent because that's something still I had never been told about. So I'm in college taking a few classes, but I'm still doing this at night. I'm still living this other life. And I want you to know, like, it's important to know that my there was a time I didn't believe in God. I lost my faith in God. Even the person who was exploiting me, they brainwash you and they make you believe that they're your God. You know, God isn't real. If God was real, these things wouldn't happen to you in life. So I had completely strayed away and lost my faith. And I was in a very dark place. I had college during the day, a few classes, but I still was doing this at night. And I was very, very ashamed of what I was doing. I was very depressed. And there was a point in my time in my life where I did not want to live anymore. Even though I had this college in front of me, I was living this life that I was living. I did not want to keep going. So um, I was 21 years old and I hated myself. I was very ashamed and I felt like there was no other way to make ends meet though. So I had to keep doing this. And one day, and I would do during my shifts, just to get by, I would drink a lot and I did a lot of drugs because I could not do this job sober. I know that there's OnlyFans and people are out there and it may seem like they're living a happy life and they're living a luxurious life, but I can tell you right now, I will speak for them, they're not happy. It is not a good life to live, and it's not a good feeling to be constantly objectified and exploited by others. And that is the life that these people are living. It's complete exploitation. So I was doing drugs just to get through my shifts, and then the times that I wasn't, I was going through withdrawals from the drugs and the alcohol, and I would be very, very depressed. And one day I woke up. I did not know how I got home. My car was not in the driveway. I had bruises all over my body, and I wanted to be done. I wanted to be done with my life. I wanted to die. I did not want to live anymore. And I didn't believe in God. And I said, like, let me try it. I called on God. I called on God because I knew that I was ready to be done with this world. And I said, if you are real, please show me. Please show me that this isn't my future, that this isn't just the life for me that I'm going to be living because I can't do this anymore and I can't do this alone. So if you're real, I will quit these drugs. I will do that. Just show me that you're real. And a sense of calm started to come over me. And I just listened and paid attention to whatever sign was in front of me. I prayed every time I was going to go into class. I prayed for calm, for peace,
Mm, mm,
for clarity.
mm.
Every time before my shift, I prayed for calm, peace, clarity, so that I could see who it was in front of me and what was in front of me. And I started to see how toxic my environment, you know, in the nightclubs and the strip clubs was, and you know, just how toxic the people around me were. And I started to stay sober. And it was within a year that I got through God, through my faith constantly. My grades improved. I started to love school and I got out of that life in a year. Next, within a year, I was working. I had interned for my criminal defense attorney and then started working for a personal injury lawyer and got out of that life. And that was my just continuous faith in God and the calm and clarity. That was my mindset, was just God is guiding me. God is guiding, because I did not think I was going to get out of that life. And I wasn't taking college as seriously. I had just started, was only taking a few classes, and I was just doing it just because, number one, now, okay, it's free, thank God, right? And just, my family wanted me to try. And so it wasn't, again, it was through my faith and the clarity and the peace that I would get through my faith that I was able to just focus. And school was a world that it was a world so separate from the nightlife, and nobody knew that I did this at night, and people would treat me like a person and not an object. People were treating me like a person, and a studious one, because I was getting good grades and I loved it. I loved it.
That double
So
lifestyle had to be very hard to live because
yes,
you're
yes,
coming home at a irregular time. Like you're talking at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So your friends, your roommates, your colleagues are like, I just saw you come home at like 3 o'clock, right? And you got to change your outfit. You got to pretend like,
mm-hmm,
I was just visiting family. I was out with my friends, and
yeah,
then sleeping throughout the course of the day, but then still having to have that mindset like I am in school. I'm here to learn,
mm-hmm,
right? And
mm-hmm,
still get those good grades. That is extremely hard to do. Let alone like I think about it in comparison. I know it's obviously totally different, but like an athlete working,
right,
like being in the gym in the morning, going to class during the day, then going
mm-hmm,
back to practice during the afternoon, games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, traveling on a bus or on a plane, and coming back to school the next day. So that lifestyle alone is rigorous. So but people at least know that you're an athlete, so they
right,
kind of help you out a little bit along the way. Your
yes,
bosses didn't know anything,
didn't know. I
so
was studying in the dressing room. I would study in the dressing room.
my
If my
gosh,
I had a shift that ended at 6 a.m. and a class that started at 8 a.m. So I would
girl,
sleep in the parking lot of my school after my shift. I would, change, shower, change, go to the parking lot, take a nap, go to class.
mm. and
I wanted to get out of that life though, and God was giving me that strength to do it.
I like how you expressed it took you a year. It
Hmm.
didn't happen overnight, and I
No,
know a lot of times when people are going through these hardships, they start saying to themselves like, "Why are you not answering my prayers? Why?" Right? And 365 days sounds like a long time, but in comparison to what is at the end of the 365 days, you didn't have a different perspective. You start to say,
right.
I have a lifetime of happiness, and all I have to do is sacrifice 365, right? But mind you,
Right.
you've been sacrificing and going through a lot prior to that. So you
Yes.
kind of got used to like, okay, I could wait my turn. I could sacrifice. I could wait another couple months and I'll figure it out for a life of happiness. And look where you are right now as a personal injury attorney. Could you express to us a little bit more about that role? Because I know some of our listeners are probably saying, like, so what exactly is that?
Yes, so a personal injury attorney represents individuals who've been injured due to another person or a corporation's negligence, whether it's in a car accident or a slip and fall, a medical malpractice claim, or other incidents that cause harm to the person. And our job is to advocate for our injured clients and help them recover compensation for medical expenses, lost wages, pain and suffering, and other damages they may experience, whether it's damage to their car or their property. We negotiate with insurance companies after we gather evidence and we build a case. We negotiate with insurance companies, and when necessary, we will file a lawsuit and take the case all the way to court, to make sure that the clients get the justice they deserve. And our ultimate goal is to level the playing field for our clients who are up against usually corporations and big insurance companies who are going to try to, undermine what has happened to them and undermine their claims. So we as the attorneys, we are there to advocate for them and level that playing field.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, how has your experiences over the many years within law, but also in your personal life, how has that kind of helped shape your approach in this field?
So it shapes my approach because I'm compassionate, I'm empathetic, empathetic towards my clients' plight, the things that they've been through. I love working with people. It definitely just my background when I speak with a lot of clients that, you know, typically they come from some underserved communities. These accidents, these situations have completely upended their lives. And, you know, they're very stressful. They can't afford to get into a car accident. They don't want to get into a car accident. They don't want to slip and fall and injure themselves. This is not something, there is that whole misconception again about people who are injured and thinking that they're just looking out for a payday, but nobody wants that to happen to them.
Yeah, sure,
And
sure, sure. No one's saying here like, let me get injured.
no, no,
Well, we
you hear
we
some bad
there
stories,
might be
but
some individuals out there.
there are some individuals, but I don't represent those. And you know what? My
That right.
background helps me. My
Push it to the
background
side.
helps me identify that one real quick. So I can see those people from a mile away. So they're not my clients, but
Okay.
you know, um, my clients that do, I really work to get them back to the restoring their lives, to get them back to where they were before this happened to them. And it's part of my background and my experience is to restore that justice for them, get them back to where they were as if this had never happened. And I take that very seriously.
Mm-hmm. And what does justice mean to you? Right. I know that's a big word right there, justice, especially in the world that we live in currently today. Right. Both as a personal injury attorney and to someone who has navigated, uh, through all your life experiences.
I'd say justice is about restoration again, accountability and dignity. As a personal injury attorney, it means ensuring that people who have been harmed by no fault of their own receive the compensation and the support services that they need to rebuild their lives. On a personal level, having navigated systemic injustices firsthand, I see it as something deeper than just legal remedies. It's also about recognition, healing, and change. And it's justice is professional and personal for me. So I want to use my experiences to advocate fiercely for others and make sure that they don't feel powerless in a system that often overlooks us.
Mm-hmm. And when you mentioned about the system overlooking us, I mean, I want to go back to just being in the foster care, right? What is like some of the biggest misconceptions about the foster and youth, surviving, exploitation, all of that within that area?
The biggest misconception is that they think we cause this to ourselves or that we want this life, that we like it. I don't care how controversial it sounds. I don't care if there's somebody on OnlyFans listening to this. I know that it is not a happy life. I know that it is usually a lifestyle that you're doing to survive. Even if you came from a well-to-do background, it's usually there is some trauma involved. Typically, somebody has been abused or objectified, and just because you came from a middle class background or upper middle class background and somehow you ended up in a life, it doesn't mean that it was the life that you wanted. It doesn't mean it's the life that you want. These things happen because situations that were completely out of our control happened to us,
Mm-hmm.
not because we're just bad kids or bad people or just want the attention. It's not true. There's so much trauma behind every person's story in that life, whether it was the foster care system or exploitation. There is trauma.
There
You
was
don't just wake up one day and want to live that life.
growing up in the South Bronx, right? There was a lot of hardship growing up in the '80s, and when I went to high school, there was a survey that they took for us. There was like, you know, where I forgot exactly the exact wording, but it was something along the lines like, "Do you want to live this life? Do you want to be a statistic of being like a teen pregnancy? Do you want to be does gang life really excite you? Does selling drugs and being on the corner of the street
Right.
really, make you feel good about yourself?" And like 90% of us, or 95% of us, it was a large number, but like honestly, Like that's not what we want to do. Like I'd rather be playing ball. I'd rather be running track. I'd rather have a house and a car and a beautiful family. Like everyone was looking for that. But again,
Hmm.
if you don't know how to get to that, you're gonna do it the way you feel best, the way
Right.
you know best. And obviously, if someone presents an opportunity in front of you that seems that they know a lot more than you,
Hmm. Hmm.
care for you and they love you, like, hey, look, I have something for you. That's why a lot of individuals in the Bronx, they got influenced to be drug dealers at that time because they were like, oh, this is like a bigger brother to me. We play ball together.
Hmm.
We kick
Yes.
it. Like, ain't nothing wrong with this. But then all of a sudden, you go from selling a little bit of this to now selling a big portion of this, and then now you're more at risk for your family and getting arrested and being shot or killed or stabbed.
Hmm.
It just turned into so many other things. But then when those people got hurt or injured or someone it affected their family at that point in time, they were like, I got to leave this lifestyle. Like I don't want to live it. But they were
Right.
already doing it. Obviously, they try to get out of it sooner, but sometimes people get caught up in that motion. You know, it's like
Yeah. Especially
fast
if it's
money.
all you know. And if it becomes something that it's all you know how to do, it's scary to and you've already built a lifestyle
Yeah,
now
yeah.
on it. It's very scary to leave. Very scary. I didn't know how to write an email, so I was I
You're
needed the
like, what?
education.
I know how to
Yeah.
dance. Put the music on.
Yeah, put the music on, I could do that. But
Oh,
so it's
yeah.
scary.
They said that my professors, um, well, teachers at the time in the Bronx, that one of the students I remember, he was accused of selling drugs to students in school, and one of the conversations, one of the teachers that was very like down to earth, he said, "Look, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know if you sell it, but I'm letting you know everyone's watching you. But I want to let you know something. If you're selling at the capacity that the people are saying that you're selling at, you're a really good salesman." So I'm letting you know right now, if you could take the same practice and turn it
Yes.
into selling a car, the same practice in selling a property, a house. He was like, the money that you're making right now, the three, four, $500 a day, you can be making thousands selling a
Hmm.
multi-million-dollar house. And I think everyone in the room, when I heard that, I was looking at, I didn't sell drugs. That but I was like, hmm, what?
Yes.
Then I, as I got older, I said to myself, I was like, some of these people who really are programmed to be good sales reps on the corner of the street, or even in the room, the dance room, you know what I'm saying, being in the
Hmm.
clubs, selling those bottles, and if you
Hmm.
right position, the sales that they could do would be astronomical. Put them as a host at the front of like one of the most expensive restaurants. Just put them in front of Cipriani's in with
Yes.
bang and have them be a host at the front. That same character that they have and getting people to feel warm and welcome can
Yes.
put money and provide so much more for them. But they don't know how to get to that opportunity. How do you get to Cipriani's? How do you send an email?
Right.
How do you apply? I don't even know how to fill out the application. But
Right.
I realized that, and I knew when I was leaving out of the Bronx, I said, whatever made me get here to this place in time to go to college, utilize it. And then also my culture, the grit, the hunger, the resilience, all those stuff that you just talked about, being Haitian, the Haitian culture, it applies. So it's crazy. It's crazy how this your stories, right? It gives me chills listening to it, but it's also very inspiring. And I just want to thank you so much for just like opening up and really just being a part of this platform. I know a lot of things that you're sharing today. Sometimes people look at this as scars that they don't want to show, right? But you're opening up and speaking high into the heavens right now, and letting us know exactly like it's okay. It is okay. That's really what I'm hearing from this whole message. It is okay to go through these things. It shouldn't
Yes.
defy you, and it never did defy you. It's just like, okay, this is a part of my life. I don't deny it. I don't turn back and say it never happened, but I'm letting you know it did happen. But I could show you how I got out of it. So kudos and congratulations to you on really, really making a massive change and definitely making a massive impact on your community.
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely important for me to share my experience. And that's right. Like, even though I lived in shame for years, um, my what happened to me, my experience in the life I lived actually became my strength, and it will be your strength. You have this skill already. know that you can take that skill and apply it in the world in other ways where you don't have to experience the objectification or the exploitation, whether you're selling drugs for somebody else that somehow they're still ultimately exploiting to you. You still have to give money to someone. But that not to I'm not I was never did that, but I know that there's somebody up there that's still exploiting you, that brought you into that world, that probably saw some talent or skill in you, but they want it for themselves in a way that does not benefit your life. That's never going to benefit your life. But they want to take those skills for themselves to they're exploiting you. Or whether it's in the clubs, like you have a skill, you definitely have a skill, especially if you're doing well in that. It's you can transfer those skills. Those skills are transferable, and your adversity is your strength. Okay, your story is powerful. Do not be ashamed about it because it is your strength. I would not have gotten this far if I hid this from people, because it's the same people that I made myself vulnerable me, those same people that I told to, some very powerful people, like in the community, community leaders, okay, that I was vulnerable enough to express this to, um, open doors for me. They were like, wow, that is actually an amazing story. Before I was very ashamed and I thought, I'm just going to live my life like this never happened, but I can't. It's not in me, and it wasn't going to serve me either. It actually served me to be able to come forward and say this happened to me and it shouldn't have happened to me, and it definitely shouldn't be happening to anybody after me.
Yeah. So before we dip out, we got to let the listeners know, how do they find you if they're obviously in your area?
If you want to find me, you can give me a call. I'm a personal injury attorney at Kogan and DeSalvo. Call my direct line at 561-593-1975.
Come on, we got a direct line. So thank you for sharing that. It's not even like we got to call your secretary.
No,
We got a
no, you
direct
call
line.
me directly.
We
Yes.
tapped it. We tapped in. Okay, let's go.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I want to let the listeners know, if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Brigitte, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow us on our social at Zaka Connect, and follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcasts.